Picture this, the world's most famous museum, a fortress of culture, right? Now imagine it being hit in broad daylight with hundreds of tourists watching, all part of a plan so ridiculously precise it was over in just 7 minutes. Today, we're going to break down one of the most audacious heists in modern history. So we're not starting at the beginning. No, we're jumping right into the middle of the chaos. It's 9:35 on a Sunday morning. The Louvre has only been open for 35 minutes. And inside one of its most famous halls, an absolutely unbelievable crime is already well underway. So this is what's happening inside the Apollo Gallery. And it's not quiet, it's not respectful, it's just total chaos. You have tourists who are just frozen. Some think it's a stunt, maybe a protest, and they're pulling out their phones to record it. But the figures in construction vests, they're not performers. They are moving with this cold, terrifying purpose toward two very specific display cases. And the shriek of their power tools is basically a declaration of war on history itself. Okay, look at the sheer speed of this operation. At 9:34 a.m., a stolen basket lift gets them to a second-floor window. Just 60 seconds later, they are inside, smashing cases. And a mere 3 minutes after that, they're already back on the lift and escaping on scooters, just melting into the Paris traffic. 7 minutes. That is all it took. 7 minutes to steal centuries of French history. A 7-minute heist. That doesn't just happen. You don't get lucky for 7 minutes straight. This was the result of meticulous, almost military-grade planning. So let's pivot from the crime itself to the brilliant and frankly chilling blueprint that made it all possible. A plan that actually weaponized our own expectations against us. Right, a crime this clean isn't improvised. It's executed in phases. It all starts with reconnaissance, where these guys basically become experts on every single one of the Louvre's blind spots. Then comes the acquisition phase, stealing the exact tools for the job, like that basket lift, 9 days before. And the final phase, refinement. This is where every single second is rehearsed, every contingency is planned for. They made sure their 7-minute window was a masterpiece of criminal choreography. And this right here shows the absolute genius of their timing. See, they didn't attack in the middle of the night when security is cranked up to the max. They hit at 9:30 a.m. in this very specific window of maximum weakness. It's this transitional moment. The overnight systems like motion sensors, they're all shut off for the public. But the daytime crowd control staff, they're not fully spun up yet. Everyone's attention is divided. It is the museum's absolute softest moment, and you better believe these thieves knew it. You know, this is where psychology becomes their most powerful weapon. They basically hid in plain sight by creating what we're calling a theater of legitimacy. Our brains are just wired to ignore things that look normal, like, construction workers doing work. By wearing the vests and acting like they belonged there, they signaled authority and public suspicion just plummeted. And that sound of the angle grinder, it wasn't just a tool, it was a psychological weapon. It's an industrial sound that makes people confused, not scared, and that split second of hesitation is all they needed. So now that we kind of get how they did it, we have to ask the most disturbing question of all. What did they take, and why? And the answer reveals a story that isn't really about art theft. It's about something way more brutal. Cold, calculated cultural destruction. 88 million euros. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the official value of what they stole from the Apollo Gallery. And these aren't just shiny jewels. They are tangible links to French history, to emperors and empresses. These things saw coronations, they saw empires fall. They're priceless. But here is the most shocking, the most heartbreaking part of this entire story. The valuation paradox. While history and insurance companies value these pieces at 88 million euros, the black market, it only values them for their raw materials, the gold, the gems. To get about 3 million euros in fast, untraceable cash, the thieves willingly destroyed 95% of the item's value. They didn't steal history, they stripped it for parts. And you know what? This wasn't a one-off thing. The Louvre heist is a terrifying evolution of a pattern we saw back in 2019 with the Dresden Green Vault robbery in Germany. The target, royal jewelry. The method, a brute force breach. The outcome, the historic items were broken apart, melted down, never to be seen again. The Louvre heist just took that exact same playbook and did it with more guts in broad daylight, proving that organized crime is escalating its war on our shared cultural heritage. The plan was perfect. The execution was flawless. The motivation was brutal. But that leaves one final, haunting question for investigators. Who were these people? I mean, how do you even begin to hunt for criminals who seem to operate like ghosts? So, investigators start to build a profile of these unsubs, these unknown subjects. And the picture that comes together is of a crew with incredible tactical discipline. No violence, no panic, no mistakes. They're psychologically sophisticated, using our own biases against us. This level of coordination proves one thing for sure. This was not a random smash and grab. This was the work of a highly organized, professional criminal network. But the investigators did get one major break. High-quality DNA from a helmet one of the thieves dropped. But this led to the single biggest problem in the whole case, the database paradox. You can have a perfect genetic fingerprint of your suspect, right? But if that person has never been arrested before, their DNA isn't in any database. So you end up with perfect evidence against a person who, for all intents and purposes, doesn't exist. Which leaves us right here with this final, deeply unsettling question. In a city with over 38,000 surveillance cameras, in the most famous, most visited museum on the entire planet, how do 4 people pull off a perfect crime in 7 minutes and then just evaporate? This heist wasn't just a theft of jewels. It was a demonstration that even our most protected cultural sanctuaries are shockingly vulnerable to people who plan with precision, act with audacity, and operate like ghosts in the machine.